Welcome to Stampscaping 101. This is just a quick video on how I merge a piece of vellum with another foundation. Okay, now I've been doing a lot of things on like photographs like this. You can merge it with whatever you want. Something to put in the background. These are the mossy covered trunks here, and I have colored them in on the front side with colored pencils, and I have blocked out the back so that whatever I place this top layer over the top of, it will block out whatever's in the background, because this is transparent, of course, or translucent, I should say. Okay, now this one on the back is just the same trees, stamped again, just in black, and then I've colored it in with colored pencils. I've placed a little bit of the white pigment ink over the top of it to look a little bit kind of more lighter and oscillated in terms of the lighting in here, going from light to dark, but it's also going from sharp to soft. And I thought that would be a good foundation for this right over the top of it. You notice I didn't color this bottom part right here because this part right here, the foreground, is already colored in, so I wouldn't need to do that. This would just be covering it up if I did this bottom portion down here. But anyways, we'll take you outside and we'll show you kind of the spray sealing process. It's nothing more than just really, it's almost like spray paint. It's just like spraying this over. What you want to do is you want to go for kind of a nice thin coat if possible. Okay, what we have here is I have my piece in a box. I find that helps to kind of, I don't know, control the wind and the piece from flopping or something like that. We have the 3M Super 77 here. Now what I do is you really want to shake this up and give it a kind of a test spray to make sure that you're getting a kind of a nice even application of adhesive out of there. And then what you want to do is you want to spray from about, I'd say about 12 inches or so. Now it's a little bit windy right now, but hopefully this box kind of helps to control that. And you want to start from off the scene and and then go on, okay? Or you can hit it in short bursts, but I usually go with the off, then on, okay? And this would take about 2 coats or so. And let's just see if I got it there. I might have missed up the top there a little bit. Okay, but this comes out really globby, so don't go overboard with it, otherwise it'll really show through the vellum. Okay, we're back in from outside, and I don't know if you can see it, but there's a slight layer of adhesive on there. I don't know if you can see that there, but a nice even coat. Okay, now the thing about this is that you just want to, be fairly mindful to match up the edges if you can. You kind of want to work it from one side over as opposed to hitting the 2 sides and then flattening it out. Sometimes you get this little ridge in the middle, and then it's hard to kind of stretch it out. So see, I kind of got it there, and then I'm kind of laying this down like this as I go to prevent any air bubbles from getting in there. And I do get air bubbles, especially if you try to go for another layer on the top of this. I don't know. The vellum is almost like plastic or something like that, where it really wants to kind of bend and buckle in a certain way. All right, now we got that out. I have a little bit of this side exposed here, but that's fine. What we'll do is we'll brayer this off. If you don't have a brayer, what you do is you just kind of, you can do this with your, your fingers as well. You can get a pencil like this and do this, whatever you want. Pen, maybe. Okay, and I do it both ways, just in case there's it's usually not a bubble on the inside, but there's usually this little ridge that wants to develop, and it always wants to kind of spring up for some reason, We're not really adhering this like super strong, It's just kind of evenly adhered, okay? Because if you put too much adhesive in any given area, it really shows through. Okay, now that I got this one pretty good, it looks like. I usually get a little bit of it showing through, a little a little bit spotted You know, because I don't know. I don't know, it hit too thick in some areas, but on this one, it looks like it went on pretty evenly. So a lot of times I'm doing this like late at night, and I think, you know, those aerosol cans, when they cool down, they work differently. They're not as charged up, okay? So I get less kind of, I don't know what you call it, propulsion of the uh, the media coming out of the can, so it just goes on thicker. This one, I don't know, I got a much more even spray. It's warm out, you know, and I just think it just adhered, or it distributed just so much better. Okay, but that is it. Okay, as far as that, the combination of that goes. Okay, now let me see. Now see right, I don't know if you can see this right here. Let me move that out. Can you see those? There's a couple little ridges here. Let me see if I get this focus in right here. Okay. Okay, see these two little bumps right here? Okay. So these things are starting to spring up. It was pretty even. So what you want to do is you just want to kind of, if you can bump them down while your adhesive is still pretty tacky, that of course is going to be best, but what you might find is that it still will spring up a little bit. You know, if I continue working on it or whatever, or by the time it dries, if it just springs up, you know, I just, well, I try to, you know, bump it down, but I just see that as part of the thing, you know, that you're going to get. All right, now when I'm done with something like this, you know, I might want to add in some extra fine tuning because, you know, we can see what the vellum looks like, the impression on the vellum, and we can see the impressions going on in the background, okay, those trunks in the back. But you really can't tell what, you know, your pieces are really going to look like until you really get them adhered, because sometimes by using the spray adhesive, the background or the surface of the vellum moves more towards transparency. It's still translucent, but it becomes a little bit more see-through, in other words. And it comes forward a little bit more. So sometimes, so now I'm coloring in my trees in the foreground here a little bit darker to create a little bit more visual separation between the background trees. You know, I want to add more value, you know, in terms of light and dark to the trees in the foreground, just to bring them out from that background. Okay, you don't have to color them all completely evenly. What you do is just make certain parts of it a little bit darker. Okay. Okay, about like so. And how about some additional imagery? Let's see. How about some additional foliage here? I'm going to use my Brilliance Graphite Black. Okay. Brilliance Graphite Black, it's well adept at stamping over the kind of untraditional stamping surfaces. So things like foil and vellum, it works just fine. It's a thick ink that dries quickly, and it can adhere to non-porous surfaces. So not only am I stamping on the vellum, but I'm stamping over wax, okay? You know, so something like a StazOn could work. You know, I'm not sure if it'll be as dark, potentially, as the Brilliance, though, because Brilliance is a pigmenting, so, you know, those inks are just thicker. But that being said, what you want to do is you want to stamp and hold for a little bit of a longer period of time than if you're stamping on cardstock or something like that, you know, that's going to be absorbing and kind of grabbing that ink very quickly, okay? Now, I haven't been experimenting a lot with this, so it's like, in my mind, I'm thinking, I wonder how kind of dark this is going to transfer here. Sometimes it's just a matter of how long I hold this down on the surface. I think that worked great, okay? Now, if I just went like this and this, you know, it would be stamping out much, much lighter because I wouldn't have allowed kind of the ink to start setting up and drying underneath there. I mean, it's not dry, but it starts to kind of that, the drying process starts to kick in. And so it starts to adhere more towards the surface that you're stamping it on, as opposed to kind of removing it like a vacuum, you know. Yeah, okay, that's working really good. Let me go for another impression over here. I kind of layer this a little bit more. This is kind of like, it's adding another layer of dimension. So now we have these overhanging tree limbs that are, I don't know, let's say it's 6 feet from us or something like that. Where before, that distant area back there, 30 feet away or something like that was where this scene started. So we've really kind of expanded the depth of field within this piece. Okay. A couple impressions out here. Okay. So, see, the whole point about the vellum is to create depth, right? And so we've created more depth within the piece through the imagery. We're doing it through value. They're using the vellum, okay? And see that in the background, those trees back there, how light they are? Okay, and how about some foreground down below, too? Right now it's this doe, and anytime you have like wildlife within a scene, it's kind of good to create a little bit of a separation between you, the viewer, and the wildlife. Not for like domestic stock, but they're not wild. But doing something like this in the foreground, it kind of puts us as a viewer kind of like you're hiding in the bushes or something like that. Like see like that. I don't want to cover it up so we can't see it, so I'm stamping this kind of on the corners. See, top left and right, bottom left and right. Okay, and what you do is you just stamp this out, change the angle a little bit. There's a lot of wax-colored pencil down here, so maybe I'll hold this down for a little bit longer. Okay, see how nice this. The Brilliance inks really kind of expand the potential of what you can stamp on. You can never stamp over colored pencils with, say, a dye-based ink. Okay. All right. So there you have it. Pretty good separation in terms of space and creating distance within a card. And one of the things about vellum, when you mount it on top of kind of a stiffer card, it has a really good feel to it. It's nice and firm on there. But, yeah, vellum's really fun. Work out those little wrinkles, give it a nice even coating. And if you do get little spotty areas, that's where kind of there was a big blob of, or larger kind of spatters of adhesive. Just, I don't know, you can put a little bit of white pigment ink over the top of it if it bothers you or something like that. I wouldn't worry about it, though, because it'll happen, you know what I mean? And if you're kind of concentrating on little kind of small details like that, texture, forms, it's kind of missing the point of the overall, So we would see that, but, people, the recipients of our card wouldn't be focused in on something like that. But look how much deep space this is right here by utilizing vellum and by just sandwiching it in. It's a really fun technique to utilize, and I'd really recommend kind of testing it out like so. Okay, so thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. If you like this video, hope you like, share, and subscribe.